Hi guys, welcome to Darren's Maths Corner, and today we're going to be looking at estimations when entering stuff on a calculator, because the answer displayed on a calculator will be the correct answer for the values that you give it. However, they cannot determine where you go wrong when entering the equation. So each number you enter should be checked for accuracy, and the final answer should be checked by comparing it with an estimated answer. And this is exactly what this video will do. So based on the last video, let's estimate the value of 31.41 times 79.6. So 31, because I'm going to be rounding each of these to one significant figure, makes it much easier to do that. 31.41 gets rounded down to 30 because the 1 is less than 5, and the 79.6 gets rounded up to 80. And then we have an estimated value of 2,400 because that's 30 times 80. And then I'd have used the calculator to check the actual result. Now, this will be the calculator that I use because there are some questions that require fractions. So if I was to put that in, that should be the answer that you get. If you multiply those normally. Put that back for a moment because we'll just go over those after I've done all the accuracy tests as well. But of course, say for example, if your calculator displays something like 25,002.36, you've made a mistake with the decimal point. So without further ado, let's get solving. So we'll do the accuracy required first. I've repeated the sums twice. So you've got 3 lots. So let's go with the rounding of each number first. So based on what I did in the last video, we will then have the following. We'll get rid of the decimal points in this case. And then we'll look at the numbers that I've had underlined. So 2, that is less than 5, so that rounds down. And 7 is greater than 5, so that rounds up. And there's your estimated equation there. There's your estimated equation. The next one we're going to look at is 6,143 times 0.381. Now remember, any zeros given at the beginning of a number are not significant figures. But the ones that come in at the end need to be put in because it helps all the other significant figures keep their places. So with that being said, I'll keep doing that. Let's then round those down to the 100. Get rid of that one as well. And then we round. Get rid of the last one. I've given you the answer on this one because 4 is less than 5, so again that rounds down. And this one is greater than 5, so that then rounds up. So essentially, when we get to it, when we give our estimated answer, we will be working out what is 4% of 6,100. We'll put that in italics. Or yeah, let's leave it as it is. And then what we'll do is we'll put, yeah, we'll leave it as it is. Let's stay focused. We're going to do these two at the same time because they give you the same result. Only one's divide and one's divide and the other one's times. So we might as well just do them both at the same time. Because the answer is going to be the same. As I say, apart from one's dividing and the other one's timesing. So let's start with the top one, 607. Well, that is going to be the answer because we are rounding to one significant figure, not two. So it then becomes 600 for both of them. And then, of course, we then look at the 8 in the decimal points, and because that's greater than 5, that rounds up. And they'll both be the same, apart from there's going to be two different numbers because of the symbol is different. It's a good way to kill two birds with one stone. Figuratively, of course, not literally. Bear with me a moment. I'll just get rid of that. The next one we're going to look at is 48.2 divided by 0.203. So essentially, when we get to that point, we'll be working out, because that we'll get rid of the decimal point, and that then rounds up because the 8 rounds up because it's greater than 5. And then this bit rounds down because it's a 0. So when we get to, well, I'll explain more as to what will happen when we get there. The next one we're going to look at is 3,784 divided by 412. What am I doing? Wrong column. So again, 3,784 divided by 412. We'll make that a 0. We'll make that a 0 as well. And then with that in mind, because we're rounding to one significant figure, not two, we better make that 8 there a 0 as well. Because then that 7 rounds up because it's greater than 5, and that 1 rounds down. Now the next one's going to be an interesting one, because then you've got 520 times 8.065. I think in this case I might have to italicize them because it's a fraction that we're finding the estimate of. Hence why I'm going to use this later on in the video. And then we want 99.53. Let's sort this one out. So you've got then anything leading up to that point, that decimal point, we can ignore. We have that, and then that decimal point we can ignore as well. Those decimal points we can ignore as well. I'll put that. I'm just going to round that up to 2 decimal places for the moment. I'm just, because that's 8.065. So we'll round that up to 2 decimal places, and then I'll round that up to 1 decimal place, just to simplify it. Wouldn't be able to do that if it was 0.4. Wouldn't be able to do 6 if it was 0.46. Unless we tweak it about. And then we've got the 99.53. We can ignore the decimal points in this case. Now 520 rounds down. Put an asterisk there because that signifies that I've rounded it up already, and then that then just becomes 8. And then that becomes 100 because 99 rounds up. And the next one we're going to look at is 807 . What was that? Yeah, that was my last conversation I had with Copilot. And then we've got 391.2 divided by, or times rather. Remember, the first zeros are not included because they're not decimal. They're not significant figures, but they've got to be included because of it being crucial to keeping everything else in place. Let's round that up to 10. And I'll put an X there as well to symbolise that and I'll put an X there as well because that means I need to actually round it back down. And then that rounds, I'm going to round that down to let me just I think I know where I've gone wrong. That's more like it. I want consistency. We'll round that down. And then that stays the same. But again, remembering we are ultimately rounding to we are ultimately rounding to one significant figure, not two. So then this one rounds down to 800. This one rounds up to 400 because that's going to be 0 and 9 is greater than 5, and that goes up to 0.4. They're going to be particularly interesting later. Those ones, that one also needs special attention as well, along with that one as well. So let's now find the estimated answers. Well, 50 times 70 would do 5 times 7, which is 35, and then add 2 zeros at the end. We're 2 zeros to the end of that, so that the 3 and the 5 keep their place. Now, essentially, what we're doing here, if I've got to round that down, essentially what we're doing here is we're working out 4% of 6,000. So I'll put the 6,000 in, and what we'll do is that is 10% of 6,000. That's 1% of 6,000. And 6 times 4 is 24. And another one we're going to look at is 600 times 2. This is why we then looked at them both at the same time, because they're the same numbers, they're just different operations. So we'll do 6 times 2 first, which is 12, and then 2 zeros. and then we follow that up. Let's just put a separation in that. Let's just group them up. Group up the thousands. And then this one is 600 divided by 2. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. And then 2 zeros. Works out well. Now the next one we want to look at is 50 divided by 0.2. Now with that in mind, what we'll do is we'll do a 50 because we'll invert that on its head. We'll copy that as well. So we'll invert that on its head. Because then what we'll do is we'll do a 50 on that, plus we'll do a bit of Bibmus on this. We'll do the 50 on that, I just had an idea. Let's do a bit of Bibmus while we're waiting. Let's do a bit of Bibmus while we're sorting that out. So then we'll do 50 on that. Do a bit of reciprocation. Take off the zeros. More of this will be looked at in the next video where we look at standard form. But let's get rid of the zeros, which then leaves you with 5 times 2, because when you divide something by less than 1, it becomes bigger. You're making it becomes you make it bigger. The answer is bigger. If you times it by something less than 1, it becomes smaller. Your answer will be smaller. That's a good way to solve that one. 400 divided by 40. 4,000 divided by 400. Get rid of one of this. Get rid of 4 divided by 4. Let's put in a 4,000. 4 divided by 4 is 1. And then you do 3 zeros minus the 2 zeros, which leaves you with the 1. Here comes an interesting one. We are now dividing by fractions. So we'll do 500. We'll put this into a fraction. Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. Bear me a second. Now we've got 500. You've reverted back to You've reverted back to what you were before, and I don't want you to. There we go. Now you'll do as you're told. 500 times 8 is 4,000. Do that over 100. Again, you've reverted back to what you were before. Let's try that again. There we go. And then we do the following. So we've got then 4,000. So we do then 3 zeros minus 2. Let's simplify that down. Which then gives you that. Let's simplify that down. Which will be dividing each of those by 100. Which then gives you the answer of 40. I am determined to do this, and then we need to do another fraction here as well. So we've got then 800 Let's make a text out of that. Times, essentially what we're doing here is 40% of 400. So we do 4 times 4, which is 16. And then get rid of one of the zeros. You got 2 there, get rid of one of the zeros, which then gives you 800 over 160. Which then let's, at this point, I'm thinking also, simplify this down. 80, so we'll do the tens first. Let me simplify these down. Do 2. Yeah, we'll do 8. And then 5. And then 2. And that gives you the answer of 5. Now, the next thing we want to look at, you're probably thinking to yourself, but how much, what's the actual answer? This is where the calculator comes in. So now look at 52.2 times 67.4. I've got this in fractions, so let me I've done this in fractions. Well, in that case, then I'll go over to my scientific calculator when it comes to fractions. And with that, we'll then do the normal calculator on my phone for everything else. So 52.2 times 67.4 is that. The next one is 6,143 times 0.381. So we're basically finding 3.81% of that, which should be the following. Next number, 607 times 1.86. That's your answer for that. Hold it up to the camera so it gives you an idea as to what to expect. The fourth one, 600 divided by, so we did 607 times 1.86 last time. This time we're doing 607 divided by 1.86. Oh wow. I'm surprised. How many digits is that? How many decimal points is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm surprised that was able to fit on one line. The next one is 48.2 divided by 0.203. That's interesting. Wait. Ah! That's right. Completely ignore what I said on that. When you divide something by 0.2, you are essentially multiplying it by 5. Oh dear! So, yeah, that's what I've got there. When you divide something by 0.2, you are essentially multiplying it by 5. Let me try another one. Just quickly. Yeah, you're multiplying it by 5. Oh dear. My sincere apologies, guys. I completely forgot about that. Let's try the actual answer again. Which then makes the actual answer make more sense. Let's see if I can fit all these digits in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I should be able to. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, that is absolute murder. The next one is 3,784 divided by 412, which is, right, let's look at this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There we go. And this is where I switch over to my scientific calculator, because I then have fractions to deal with. 520.4 times 8.065, and that's over 99.53. Right. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Is that 168.45172? And then the next one we want to look at is 807. Good job I checked that. 391.2 times 0.38. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Get rid of that fraction there as well. And there's your answer there. So you see that, so that's the actual answer I'd written down, and that's the answer it gives you. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, apologies for the mistake in the 50 divided by 0.2. Don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.